Hey guys, been real busy lately, no time to continue my Ray Lewis series of videos, but over the next few days I hope to get another one out there, maybe a couple. But right now, work is nuts. I've been working really hard lately, and we've got a whole bunch of stuff going on at work right now, and I just needed to take care of that. No real time to make videos, and step part two of that is if you look back there, you'll see all those boxes. I'm actually building a new computer right now, so that'll hopefully be done within the next few days, and we'll be good to go, and I can get back to the Ray Lewis series of videos maybe in the next couple days. So that's not what this video is for. Free agency gonna start semi soon. At least it's the stuff that people are talking about right now. So I just wanted to take a look at our situation right now. Our situation is very fortuitous. We have a lot of low tier free agents that we can let go without losing that much or re-sign for a very small amount. According to a couple of sources, I looked it up. We have like 18 million in cap room, which is one of the better cap situations in the league. And the other teams that have a lot of cap room are teams that aren't very good. Teams like I think the Dolphins and lesser teams that just aren't spending money. They're the teams that seem to have a lot of cap room, but our situation in particular seems fortunate compared to theirs. So, yeah, and I was looking at our list of free agents, so I'm just going to go down the list real quick and talk about them. And you guys tell me what you think, and if you're a fan of another team, tell me if you want any of these guys. Probably not, but Dion Butler, he's restricted. I'd actually like to keep Dion Butler, but I won't miss him if he goes, but in all likelihood, he's not somebody who's produced a lot in actual games. So, I look at him as a guy who has no reason to get any kind of significant money offer. So it's pretty much completely up to us if we just want to throw minimum contract at him. The only thing with Dion is the injury he had a couple years ago might have zapped him of his speed that made him a notable player. Cameron Mora, tight end. I feel like he's done some things in the preseason, but we just don't have room on him for this team. If he wants to play for the minimum, then fine. He'll be the third tight end and a guy who doesn't play, barring injury. But if he asks for a penny more than the minimum, I don't see him being a part of this team going forward. Frank Omiyale, I'm probably messed that up. Frank Omiyale, offensive tackle. Again, he's a player who, if he asks for any more than the minimum that he can earn, I don't see any need to keep him around, and I don't think I'd miss him. Clint Gresham, he's restricted as well, another guy who I won't miss. So, you go down this list, and, those are all guys who, if they go, they can go. So far, so good. Moving to the defensive line, Alan Branch. Now, he's not a big-time player or anything like that, but I would like to keep him, and I'd be willing to pay a little bit of money to make sure he stays around. Big, size-eating defensive tackle. I don't think he is what people thought he might be coming out of college. I think he was a Michigan guy, but I like Alan Branch. I'd like to see him stick around. I think he's a good part of our defensive line rotation. Jason Jones, kind of the same thing. I don't care about him as much as I care about Alan Branch, but I do think he's a decent player that worth keeping around for at least one more season. So if we want to throw some money his way, that'd be cool. Another defensive lineman, Patrick Chukwura. Not going to miss him at all if he happens to depart. Clinton McDonald, another player on the defensive line. He's restricted. Yeah, I could go with keeping him around. Again, I just listed 4 defensive linemen right there, and none of those guys, except maybe Alan Branch, are notable players, but you don't want to lose all your depth, and then you're just going to end up signing, low-level guys anyway to fill in those spots, and you're going to be paying about the same amount of money. The only difference is maybe those guys know your system slightly better. Linebacker Leroy Hill, I think I'm kind of done with Leroy Hill. I think he's a good player. I think he can make plays, but I'm just done with this off the field problem stuff. It seems like, I was disappointed because he seemed like a good guy coming out of college, and he got in trouble once. Can't even remember what it was for, but I'm pretty much done with the Leroy Hill thing, and we can let him go, or he can stay for cheap, but I'm not going to miss him. Really, at this point, I kind of just want him to get out of here. Marcus Trufant, he can't. Marcus Trufant, for a period of time, was a great player on this team, and he doesn't have it anymore. We're talking about one of the great secondaries in this league, maybe the best, and he can't do it anymore. He matches up against slot receivers, and he gets burned every time. He's the weak point on the secondary. Um, we can keep him around if he's going to be the fourth defensive back because, you got Sherman Browner, and if we're getting Thurman back next year, then he can stay as the fourth cornerback because he does have experience and he does have good history here, but he he just disappointed me every time I saw him last year, pretty much. Chris Maragos, another defensive back, restricted. I'd like to keep him around. He's restricted, obviously, so we can completely dictate that. But if we let him go, I'm not shedding a tear about it. And finally, Stephen Hauschka, the kicker. There have been some rumblings that we would at least consider using the franchise tag on him and keep him around for one more year at less than $3 million. Stephen Hauschka, he's a reliable kicker, but he's got no leg beyond 50. And if you look at the other kickers in this league right now, you got, Greg Zuerlein in St. Louis, who's kicking 60-plus yarders. Got a couple other kickers out there who are hitting, 55 and 60 yarders regularly. I look at that and I go, do I want me one of those, or would I rather get a guy like Hauschka, who's I completely trust inside of 50 yards, but beyond that, I don't even want to ever try the kick. So it's a very thin list of free agents. And again, we have a lot of cap room, so we could sign most or all of those guys, or at least all the guys on that list that are important at all, and still have plenty of cap room left for draft picks, cuts and trades we might make to clear up more cap space. People are talking about Matt Flynn. I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel like I don't know what we could get for him, but if a team like Kansas City offered a second or third round pick, why not? I think we'd be saving like $6-7 million this year and $6-7 million the next year because he's obviously just sitting on the bench doing nothing. But then again, I think Matt Flynn's probably a pretty good player. We don't know, and if something happened to Wilson, it's nice to have him around. But if a team like Kansas City offered a third round pick or something, I'd have to at least think about that to get his money off the books. If we got rid of Flynn's salary, that would probably pay for every free agent I just mentioned that's worth keeping around. Chris Clemens, I'm a little worried about Chris Clemens. I can't remember how much money he's making this year, but that the injury, the way he went down, it makes me wonder if he's ever going to be the same again. And there are a lot of elements to Chris Clemens. He's not just a speed rusher. He's not just a space eater. He's a lot of different things, but explosiveness was a part of his game. So if rehab stuff comes around and it turns out that he's not recovering and it just looks like he's never going to be the same player, I don't know if we'll keep him around or not. I suspect we will, but that's been in the back of my head ever since the Washington game. Is he ever going to be the same? A little worried, I can't lie, a little bit worried about Chris Clemens going forward. But other than that, I think the team pretty much is what it is. We got no big contracts to restructure yet. Marshawn Lynch and Red Bryant are some of the bigger contracts on this team, and they just got those contracts. You can let those sit. Sidney Rice, maybe he's not producing as much as his contract dictates, but then again, this year's probably going to be his best chance so far to actually deliver on that contract, so we might give him one more year. Free agency, in terms of us going out and getting stuff, I don't see much out there, mainly because I really like this team, and I think the pieces we have are solid enough to get us where we need to go. The only thing I would say is that, especially near the end of the season, you other Seahawks fans out there, you know what I'm talking about. The run defense did fall off, especially on the road. I mean, Atlanta ran on us, Washington was running on us, and then they stopped running for who knows what reason. And of course, RG3 got hurt, which crippled their running game. St. Louis, they didn't really run the ball on us, but they did. I felt like they did handle our defensive line. So if you're looking at free agency, I think you're looking for defensive linemen. Maybe you replace some of those Clint McDonald types with better talent. Like, the premier defensive lineman in free agency this year is Henry Melton, but, forget about it. He's getting franchise tagged by Chicago. You can pretty much write it down. Michael Bennett, defensive end in Tampa, he's getting franchised by Tampa Bay, I'm sure. And there are a couple other guys like Randy Starks. He might shake free. Michael Johnson in Cincinnati, Cliff Averill in Detroit, but they're going to demand a lot of money, in my opinion. So I don't see any of that happening. I'm comfortable with building through the draft. The only other thing I could say, if you look at this free agency class, is maybe a receiver. Like, we got some marginal solid talent on this team at receiver, but if we decide we want to go get a big time talent, like let's say, nobody on this team caught more than I think 50 or 60 passes last year. So let's say we want to go get Russell Wilson, a reliable target who's good for 10 catches a game potentially. Maybe it's Wes Welker. I don't really want Wes Welker. I feel like he's taken such a beating over the years that he just might not be the same player in a year or two. But if the market goes around and Wes Welker's not getting the offers he expects to, then maybe that. There's Mike Wallace, Dwayne Bowe, Greg Jennings. They're all going to be on the market. Of those names, the only guy I really like a lot is Mike Wallace, and even him, I feel like New England and Miami is going to throw the checkbook at him, and we just don't need to be throwing the checkbook at people right now. We already threw our checkbook around with guys like, Lynch and Bryant and Miller and Rice. So I'm anticipating a boring free agency period. If there's anything that happens, I think we just maintain the talent base that we have by re-signing some of the guys I mentioned, Alan Branch, Stephen Hauschka. And if we do go out and make a big splash, I think it'll be either through trading Matt Flynn, or maybe we get a big name defensive lineman or wide receiver. But what I will say is that we don't need to waste time getting one of those players in free agency unless we think they're Pro Bowlers or close to it. We have enough marginal talent at receiver and defensive line. So if we have the opportunity to go get Henry Melton or Michael Johnson even, sure, but unless it's a big splash, I think we're better off just not making a splash at all. So it's a little kind of a downer having a dull free agency period, but I'm really looking forward to this draft. Um, yeah, that's really all I got for now. I just wanted to run through all this free agency stuff. Let me know what you guys think. I like the way this team sets up now, and I'm not down with spending any money right now. So, yeah, talk to you guys later.